In any way that would work for me, my biggest dream was to have a happy marriage and beautiful family. I liked him because he was successful, which is hard. Kelly Clarkson just told the shocking truth about her ex-husband Brandon Blackstock, and now no one can say anything. Fans are shocked by the secret she told them, which has shed new light on their friendship. What does Brandon Blackstock do when Kelly Clarkson isn't around? For years, it looked like Kelly Clarkson and Brandon Blackstock were happily married, but things were not what they seemed to be. Kelly has now come forward and told the truth, which no one saw coming. Everyone was shocked by this shocking statement. It's clear that they were having serious problems in their relationship that they were trying to hide from the public. But what did she really say? What changes has this news made in her life and career? Join us as we go into more depth about Clarkson's shocking confession and talk about what it means for her personal life and future career. Childhood. Kelly Brienne Clarkson was born in Fort Worth, Texas on April 24, 1982. She comes from a family that has loved each other and had cracks in it early on. She was born to Jean Anne Rose, a first-grade English teacher, and Stephen Michael Clarkson, a former engineer. They had no idea that their third child would become a singing legend. Kelly was the youngest of 3 children. Her older brother Jason and older sister Alyssa were also alive. Even though they were close as a family, things were going to get hard at home for the Clarksons. Kelly's parents got a divorce when she was only 6 years old. This event would have a big impact on her life and the way her family interacted with each other. The Clarkson children were not kept together during times of family trouble like many brothers do. More than one of Kelly's siblings moved in with their dad. Stephen, her older sister, went to live with an aunt. At the same time, Kelly stayed with their mom, Jean Anne. The brothers were physically and emotionally distant for years after they were split up. Kelly later talked about this broken family dynamic. She said that growing up without her brothers made her feel a little lost because of the separation. Because of the divorces, the kids were split up, so Kelly spent most of her time with her mother by herself. Which means they miss out on the normal things that brothers do together. Kelly's brothers were best friends in spirit, but it was hard for them to stay emotionally close every day after the family split up. She grew up in a small town and never thought that she could become a famous singer. She kind of fell into music by accident. In 7th grade, her teacher heard her singing and told her she should join the band. In any case, this comfort set Clarkson on a path. The path she took was filled with high school plays and finally a spot in One Direction, which would make her famous. Clarkson was able to gain power on her own even when things were hard in her home life. Clarkson has been open about how the split of her parents has affected her mental health. In particular, the feeling of loss she got from not having her father around. From many points of view, the hard parts of her life helped her grow and become a more complex person. This made her able to share her feelings through music and build a strong bond with her fans. Kelly Clarkson chose to become a musician after she graduated from high school. She had full grants to go to the University of North Texas, and the Berklee College of Music, but she didn't choose to go there. Clarkson instead made a job path that led straight to her music dreams. She said that she had written a lot of music and wanted to try writing music on her own. She also said that she thought it was never too late to go to college. Even though she is so young, this choice shows how brave she is in her dreams. Clarkson did not have an easy time ahead of him. She didn't have a big record deal, a clear path to fame, or anyone who knew her music. So she could save money to make her own music. She worked at different jobs. Using the money she earned, she made a tape to try to get record companies' attention. No matter what, the work was for nothing. Her efforts didn't lead her to any big chances right away. Most record labels didn't like her idea, and Clarkson had to deal with many turns down during this time. Even with all of these problems, Clarkson defended her religion with all her heart. Jive Records and Interscope Records both offered her big recording deals, but she turned them down. This may have seemed strange to someone who was already having a hard time breaking into the business. Still, Clarkson had good reasons for what she did. She thought that by taking these contracts, she would be letting the record companies turn her into a bubblegum act, which is a term for teen-oriented light pop music. Clarkson didn't want to be labeled or put in a box. She believed she was good at what she did and was sure there would be a chance for something better. She would have to wait longer to get it if not. Clarkson took a big risk in 2001 when she chose to go to Los Angeles to follow her dream of becoming a singer. She thought that going to Los Angeles, the city of stars, would help her get closer to the chances she had been looking for. Clarkson played minor roles in a few TV shows in Los Angeles, such as Sabrina the Teenage Witch and Dharma and Greg. While working on her real passion, she did something that wasn't very glamorous but kept her in touch with entertainment: music. At first, she had a short relationship with famous writer and singer Jerry Goffin in the 1960s. They made 5 songs, but it didn't immediately lead to a deal. Through working with Goffin, she was able to learn a lot about the music business and improve her own skills as a singer. Right from the start, Kelly Clarkson's move into the music business wasn't easy. Even though her musical skills and ability were undeniable, she was turned down by many US labels who said her sound was too black. Based on the narrow thought of the time, this idea of the music business, the artists were oversimplified by their sound, image, or popularity. Clarkson wasn't like the other people around him. Because of this, she sings without giving her evocative voice a chance to shine, even though her voice is in a strong situation. When her personal problems and work goals got mixed up, an already tough situation got even worse. In LA, Kelly Clarkson's apartment caught on fire, burning most of her belongings and leaving her with few options. She had to move back to Burleson, Texas, where she grew up because she was going through a personal problem, was having trouble with money, and was feeling unstable emotionally. She got a job selling things over the phone. It took her a long time to call people on the phone who probably didn't care or people she met on the street. That same place also had a comedy club where she worked as a bar waitress and promoted Red Bull drinks. These jobs aren't very exciting, but they kept her going during the worst time of her life when she may have been very down and out. People in Burleson who knew her and thought she was a good artist told her to try out for American Idol: The Search for a Superstar, a new show that had just started. The month was 2002. The show was still in its first episode. Even though Clarkson was nervous, she agreed to be on the show, but from then on, she had no idea that what she was doing was going to make her life much better. Clarkson's interview was so good that it got her the golden ticket, which got her into the Hollywood rounds of the competition. Her first act made it very clear that she was one of the best. The judges and the people both liked her because of her strong voice and humble personality. Kelly Clarkson's performances were always good as the show went on. Every week she was a singing star. She showed that she is the most versatile and knows how to connect with fans by giving moving performances of songs from genres other than pop. One of her most moving performances was singing A Moment Like This, the song that became her biggest hit. On September 4th, 2002, her life changed. The first season of American Idol took place at the Kodak Theater, which is now called the Dolby Theater now. It was there that Clarkson beat fellow contestant Justin Guarini in the final fight, getting 58% of the votes. It was not only her biggest accomplishment, but also a major turning point in the show's history on the US music scene. Kelly Clarkson became famous very quickly after winning American Idol. Get famous. Kelly Clarkson's life changed in a shocking way after she won American Idol. RCA Records, the second biggest record company in the world, signed her and gave her 19 tracks in S Records. Simon Fuller created American Idol and worked with the music group Spice Girls and Annie Lennox. He also worked with the legendary music producer Clive Davis, whose own career had brought Janis Joplin, Santana, and Whitney Houston to the show's judges. Now, Kelly Clarkson was going to be added to this list. She was signed right away, and on September 17, 2002, just a few days later, she put out her first song. As soon as it came out, the single reached number 60 on the Billboard Hot 100, a popular music chart in the United States that shows which songs are played the most and sold the most. After a week, it got to number 52, which was a great accomplishment. It went straight up to the top spot. The Beatles had held the record for the biggest jump to the top of the charts for 38 years before this set a new record. In 2002, A Moment Like This was the best-selling song in the United States. Clarkson, who won American Idol, was already well known, but the #1 hit made her a star in the music business. Clarkson continued to show that her ability and hard work could take her far beyond reality TV fame after this moment. It was the start of a career full of hits. Kelly Clarkson's first record, Thankful, came out on April 15, 2003. It was the first step on her way to fame as a singer after she won American Idol. Pop, contemporary R&B, and gospel were some of the types of music on the record. The winner of American Idol got to work with some of the best musicians and songwriters in the business at the time, such as Rhett Lawrence, Diane Warren, The Underdogs, and Babyface, who wrote the hit songs on the record. There was a lot of urban R&B music out when Thankful's record came out, but it stood out. In particular, reviewers were amazed by how well she could sing. The singing of Clarkson was praised by Stephen Thomas Erlewine of AllMusic, who emphasized how well she could switch between styles. Erlewine even got into a fun mood and took note of the word crooning, which means to sing softly. In her report, she said that the fact that she could both croon and sing was a really cool trick. He also said that she talks in a sassy way. She was so graceful that she was able to keep her stance. Henry Goldblatt of Entertainment Weekly wrote a very strong article about Kelly's voice, pointing out that she could glide through octaves like she had been singing for decades, even though she was just starting out. The singer was not only a TV star, but also a real singer, as shown by these comments about how smooth and versatile her voice was, like she had a job her whole life. People in the USA were the first to hear the record, thankful it took the top spot on the sales chart the first weekend it was out. After that, the record made it into the top 10 of the charts in many other countries, ending in the US and becoming platinum after selling millions of copies around the world. According to the Recording Industry Association of America, the record Thankful was given a double platinum award because it was sold over 2 million times in the United States. Gold records were also given to the album in Japan and Australia. It also went platinum in Canada. This is strong proof that Clarkson was liked by everyone. The first record by Clarkson set her up for success in a big way. More than just a singing master, it also showed the world that she could be a big star in the music business. Her many singing skills also contributed to the success of Thankful. She was praised as an artist who was not only the star of a talent show, but also a star in her own right, changing how people see her. Kelly began looking for freedom from the image she had given herself on American Idol after her first album, Thankful, became a big hit. She did something very risky because she felt like being so connected to the show was stopping her from being creative. You may remember Clarkson from American Idol. She broke up with Simon Fuller's 19 management team and hired Jeff Quotinetz from the well-known talent management business. So, she took charge of her work and built herself up again as an artist. Broken Away, Kelly Clarkson's second studio record, was a big turning point in her music career. The first record she put out was mostly pop and R&B, but Breakaway was more rock-oriented. The change wasn't a mistake. The idea came from Clarkson, who wanted to get away from the well-known bubblegum pop picture that fans had of her after she left American Idol. She really wanted to be seen as a serious artist, and a sound that was more rock-based helped her get there. As the executive producer of the record, Clive Davis was also involved with Clarkson's first album. As this time, though, she did more. She wrote 6 of the songs on the record by herself. She worked with well-known singers like Ben Moody and David Hodges, who used to be in the rock band Evanescence, and artists who make hits like Max Martin, Cara Diaguardi, and Dr. Luke. In this way, they made a sound that was both radio-friendly and true to Clarkson's ever-changing musical style. Not only did Breakaway do very well at the box office, but it also got mostly good reviews. People who review music loved how grown-up the record sounded and how it showed how deep Clarkson was as an artist. These reviewers found it interesting that Kelly Clarkson could go from being the winner of a reality show to being a real pop rock star. The record had both sad ballads and upbeat anthems, and Clarkson's beautiful voice went perfectly with them. Since You've Been Gone, the first single, was a huge hit right away and is often seen as the song that made Kelly Clarkson a rock star from the start. A lot of people were also drawn in by how instantly catchy the song was and how it made them feel strong. Today, Since You've Been Gone, her first big hit, is one of her most well-known songs and is still one of her most played tunes. More than 12 million copies of the album were sold around the world, and it was the inspiration for 5 hit songs. Behind These Golden Eyes, these were Breakaway, Because of You, and Walk Away. It seems that with each song, she got more and more fans, and the success of her album was the main reason why people stopped calling her an American Idol. Kelly Clarkson has grown a lot since her Breakaway record, which proves she can make it in the music business. She also proved that she is a flexible artist who can show how opposites can coexist. In this way, this release marked the beginning of a long and successful career. Kelly Clarkson's third studio record, My December, came out on June 22, 2007, and it was a big change in the kind of music she likes. My December wasn't like her last record, Breakaway, which was the first one that made her famous as a pop rock star with a wide range of tastes. In fact, it was the exact opposite. The record was her best work to date. It was full of dark, heavy rock music and mostly about the singer's feelings. Clarkson's work with Clive Davis, who had been the main producer for her albums before December, changed in a big way. They talked about problems and emotions on a deeper, more personal level. For example, they talked about personal battles, the pain of loss, and hard things that happen in life. She tried new things with the music, and it had a heavier rock impact than her last album, which was more pop-oriented. Clarkson went in this new way because she wanted to make an album that was more honest about her personal life and not just about making money. In December, there was a pretty big fight between Clarkson the artist, RCA Records, and Clive Davis. Davis, who was an important part of making Clarkson's early songs, didn't like what she was doing. He was said to have been unhappy with the record and the song, saying that it wasn't polished enough and wasn't good enough for radio play. Davis was more worried about how people would react badly to the darker album than to the loud pop record, which could be bad for Kelly's job. Clarkson made up her mind that she would stand up to her haters, no matter how bad circumstances would get. She wouldn't talk to the record company about what would happen to the music that her band members had made because she believed in it. She wanted the record to really show who she was, and she didn't care at all about how well it would do in the market. The singer and RCA then got into a nasty fight where each side tried to force their point of view on the other. To Clarkson's surprise, the finished version of the album was the one she wanted, and the changes Davis had suggested were not made. Still, tensions rose over this production, which became the most talked about topic in the news. While there were disagreements, Kelly made a big change in her work. Brandon Blackstock of Starstruck Management, who is very skilled, was hired by her as her new talent manager. Blackstock was a well-known person in the music business. He was also married to Reba McEntire, who is the biggest star in her country and a close friend of Kelly's. My December was a big success, even if there were some sneaky things going on behind the scenes. In the end, it got to number 2 on the Billboard 200 list. The Recording Industry Association of America certified it platinum, which means it sold more than 1 million copies in the US. Even though it didn't sell as many copies as Breakaway, the album still found a place in the hearts of some of Clarkson's fans who loved the honest lyrics and rock sound of it. In general, the record My December was a mix of the two types. Some critics praised her willingness to take risks with her work, while others mocked her for putting out such a personal record. But the others didn't like how the record didn't sound like anything popular and how dark and real it was. No matter what the important facts were, Clarkson's album My December marked a very important moment in her career. She has shown that she is more than just a pop star. She was an artist who followed her dreams, even though the business world made it hard for her to do so. People are often more interested in Kelly Clarkson's personal life than in her very successful job. Personal life, her connection with talent manager Brandon Blackstock was one of the most interesting parts of her personal life. In February 2012, Clarkson started going out with Blackstock, who had a special link to her work life. Brandon Blackstock had been Clarkson's manager, and Blackstock was from that family. He was also the husband of country music star Reba McEntire. McEntire was a close friend of Clarkson's and had even helped her get started in her work. This gave Clarkson and Blackstock a family connection. They quickly became involved with each other, and in October of the next year, they got married at the cute Blackberry Farm in Wallen, Tennessee. They were in love, and the private, beautiful place fit with that. It was like their personal and work lives were perfectly in sync. Brandon not only married Clarkson, but he also became her manager and took care of many of her business needs while they started a family. Fans loved seeing Clarkson in this new part of her life, where she was a mom and working as a singer. Kelly and Brandon had a girl as their first child. In June 2014, they named her River Rose. She quickly became the center of Kelly's life and got a lot of attention from the famous person because she often used interviews to talk about how much she loved her daughter and how proud and happy she was for her. Clarkson wasn't afraid to talk about the good and bad parts of being a mom at work, and she often said that her daughter changed the way she thought about her songs. Clarkson had her second child, a boy, in April 2016, only 2 years after the first one. They gave him the middle name Alexander, but he liked being called Remington Remy. As I said before, she didn't mind talking about these things in public. This included everything from her pregnancies to raising her 2 kids. People thought their family was perfect. She told her husband and children how much she loved them all the time. And her songs from that time showed that the life they had made together was joyful and full of happiness. But in June 2020, Clarkson made news when she filed for divorce from Blackstock, saying they could no longer get along. The news made a lot of people wonder. During the breakup, it was clear that the divorce would not be quick or easy. Clarkson talked about how upset she was about the split in the months after it was filed. Because she cares a lot about her family. Ending her marriage was hard for her, especially for her kids. Clarkson was determined to move on in the best way possible, which meant focusing on co-parenting and giving River and Remington a safe home life. She talked about how she wanted to shield her children from the tough parts of the divorce. She stressed how much she loved being a mother and how that role gave her strength during a tough time. Part of the reason the split was hard to handle was because Blackstock had been Clarkson's manager. This mixed up their personal and work lives, which made the process of splitting up harder than it would have been otherwise. They fought over child custody, cash settlements, and other legal issues, which made the divorce last for almost 2 years. Clarkson stayed strong through the whole thing, depending on her own strength, her family, and her love of music to get her through it. The breakup was officially over in March 2022. Clarkson and Blackstock came to an understanding about child custody and money issues, and then they both went on with their lives. Clarkson was given full custody of their 2 kids. The divorce ended a big part of her life, but it also gave her time to focus on herself and her work. It was February 2022 when Kelly Clarkson made a big choice about who she was. Her formal name has now changed to Kelly Brianne. This name change didn't completely change how people saw her, though. She actually said in an interview that she would keep using Kelly Clarkson for her work on stage, in singing, and in entertainment. For her personal life, she used the name Kelly Brianne. She felt this was an important step as she moved forward on her journey. Clarkson said that the reason she changed her name was very personal and had to do with how hard it was for her to get along with her late father. During her whole life, Clarkson had often been honest about how her father's departure from her family when she was 6 years old hurt her feelings. This neglect affected her for a long time. She talked about it a lot in her songs, especially when she was talking about loss, betrayal, and strength. Changing her name to Kelly Brianne seemed like a way for Clarkson to take back control of her life and get over the hurt that came with her father's name. But changing her name wasn't the only big thing that happened in Clarkson's life at that time. By 2023, her continuing court cases with Brandon Blackstock, her ex-husband, were also in the news. Even though Clarkson and Blackstock's divorce was settled in 2022, the legal and financial problems that had been caused by their marriage kept happening. Blackstock's job as Clarkson's boss during their marriage was a big part of their dealings after they got divorced. Blackstock had been her boss and was in charge of many of her business deals, including ones related to her music business, her time on The Voice, and different endorsement deals. In November 2023, the California Labor Commissioner made a big decision that gave Clarkson more than $2.6 million from Blackstock. The court said Blackstock broke the state's Talent Agencies Act by handling business deals that Clarkson's creative artist agency talent managers should have been in charge of. The judge said Blackstock had broken the law by taking commissions for deals he wasn't legally allowed to handle. Only licensed talent agents can make certain career choices and agreements for their clients. The decision included commissions from some of Clarkson's most important work, like her time as a teacher on The Voice and different promotional deals that Blackstock helped her get. It's important to note, though, that the decision didn't cover commissions for Clarkson's popular daytime talk show, The Kelly Clarkson Show. Clarkson won the case in a big way because it not only showed how important it is to follow state rules when representing talent, but it also helped her get back a lot of money that she had paid Blackstock without permission. Even with these problems, Kelly Brianne, who is now known as Kelly Clarkson in the public eye, continues to do well. If you like this video, please click the next button and share it with your friends.